At the time of this recording, it is late 2021, which has been the biggest year for webcam innovation since probably ever. Yet they all still suck somehow. I'm recording this video with the Logitech Brio, the one-time king of 4K webcams. And it's time to ask, with this hefty price tag of near $200, is the Brio still worth it? Was it ever worth it? No, it's not. And no, it wasn't. Okay, well that was easy. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Oh, you want reasons. Well, alright. Let's do this. Alright, first off, let's talk about automatic mode, which you're looking at right now. The colors are all jacked up and oversaturated, and there's this weird softness filter that's applied, not to mention variable focus, which is kind of worthless on a webcam. For most people out of the box in a heavily lit room, this is probably going to be okay if they're used to just plugging in a webcam and calling it a day and using its automatic settings. However, I believe at $200, this image sucks. And if you're fine with an image sucking and looking cheap, just save your money and buy a cheap webcam. Now to be fair, most webcams do indeed suck in automatic mode. So let's move into putting the webcam into manual settings, and I'll show you some more of the issues that I have with the camera. So the first thing that I always do with a webcam is turn off auto white balance, which this camera does actually handle pretty well. Adjusting it manually, that looks pretty good right there. Now my biggest problem with this camera is how it handles auto exposure and auto gain. So I'm going to move my hand around over here, which shouldn't really have much to do with anything that's going on over here at this door, but that's how it's handling the gain control and the exposure control. So you'll see that the door brightens and dims as it compensates for the light that is shining off of my hand here. So to remedy this and hopefully get rid of some of this grain that we see in the gray here, I'm going to set the camera into manual exposure now. So when we set the Brio to manual exposure, the image instantly goes dark. And that's okay, that's to be expected. Let's turn the exposure up a bit. Okay, that looks better. And that looks better even still. But wait a minute, the frame rate has dropped through the floor. It does take care of the brightening and dimming problem that we had, but now it introduces another problem completely. I posted another video about this previously where I compared this Logitech Brio to the new OBSBot Tiny 4K and ran into the same problems in that video with this Brio. A lot of people in the comments section suggested that my room isn't bright enough. Now I would like to clarify that my walls in the background are indeed dark, but right now I have a diffuse studio light, a ring light, and a softbox all on me. It's about $120 worth of extra lighting on me right now. But I will humor everyone so I can put this argument to rest. Alright, so not to say I won't go to an extreme to prove a point, I've hung some white panels up back here, I've got extra lighting on the background, and I've got every one of these lights in front of me hitting me with as much light as I possibly can right now. And as you can see, it still looks like a direct-to-video 90s horror movie here. So I realized that I can take the exposure down here back to a normal level and get the frame rate back. And this actually looks pretty good. However, there is a problem. I'm bombarding myself with light. And I can't work like this. It's literally giving a migraine to be using this much light. To give you an idea, here's a side-by-side between this camera and the Nexigo N660p, a $55 webcam. The N660p has been dialed in for normal human lighting. And here is what the Nexigo N660p looks like based on reasonable lighting. And as you can see, the Brio is way too dark. So based on the samples that I've taken here, I would say lighting has nothing to do with the frame rate issues that the Logitech Brio suffers from. And again, the Nexigo N660p doesn't experience any frame rate drops regardless of its exposure settings. And I would like to again point out that the Nexigo camera is a quarter of the cost of the Brio. But while I have the manual settings for the Brio open, I'm going to go through a few more things and rule out anything else that it could possibly be. We've got the best that we can get out of the exposure right now, and I'm going to take the brightness up to see if that can help the image at all. What we see is the image starts to look milky, not desirable. Can we fix it with contrast? Unfortunately, no. Saturation, not much help either. Sharpness, we can probably get rid of some of that soft looking Instagram filter looking stuff, but really that doesn't do much for us. We've gone through all of the settings on this tab. The only other thing we can take a look at here are these filters. And once I start changing these filters, I'm on original now. I'll switch to bright. What's going to happen is this is just adjusting presets over here. And it's not really doing anything that's going to help fix the image. So we'll just stick with original, and now that I chose one of these presets, it checked off auto white balance, so I've got to go back in and readjust that. So while we're looking at the manual settings, let's take a look at the focus settings, another of my pet peeves. The first time I saw variable focus on a webcam, I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. But I've since come to find that it's more of a gimmicky hassle than it's worth. So now that I'm back in light bombardment mode, take a look here at all that this autofocus does for you. I'm about arm's length away from the Brio right now. This wall behind me is about 8 feet away from me. And behold the majesty of this bokeh. Wow. So this is the Nexigo N970p, and it's in about the same price range as the Logitech Brio. And it's a fixed focus webcam rather than variable focus like the Brio, and I really don't see much of a difference in the background, and I don't really see too much separation between me and the background and the focus that I'm at. Now I can take autofocus off on the Brio, and we can manually focus this, but it doesn't really provide that much of a bonus. And the Nexigo camera does look really bad right now because I'm bombarding myself with light, but let me get back to a normal human lighting level and take a look at these two cameras side by side. All right, so I've gotten back to normal human lighting here, and I pulled out my fake backdrop here. Do you see any noticeable difference in focus? I don't. And now I've turned off autofocus on the Brio, and I'm going to adjust this manually, but it's really to no benefit. It only gets worse from here. Variable focus on a webcam is a waste.
Useless with a capital Y.
So I decided to just put the camera back in auto mode. It sucks, but it's about the best this image is going to get, and it is what it is. And at least I can use this without being blinded by the sun being in my face. And at this point, I imagine a lot of people are probably rushing to the comments to point out that webcams have small sensors, and this factor to take into consideration, and that factor to take into consideration. And yes, I know all of this stuff already, and that's kind of my point. If something has so many limitations, why would you spend that much money on it? And I'm sure somebody's going to say that the Brio could be a pretty good camera in someone's opinion based on this factor or that factor or whatever workaround, but based on the cost alone of the webcam itself, plus the cost of lighting involved just to bring it up to snuff, you're looking at $300, which for this image quality is an absurd price point. $300 is a good used DSLR with a kit lens, something that will actually hold its value, unlike a webcam. Because no matter how premium a webcam may be, it's unfortunately just designed to be throwaway tech. But I've said everything that I need to say about this one, so I'm going to wrap this video up here with some advice. Hold on to your cash on this one. Thank you so much for watching. That's it for now, and I'll see you next time.